What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to go through all of the known issues about Battlefield 2042, essentially all the stuff that some of the devs have actually sort of talked about and confirmed on Twitter, about the issues that they're aware of, as well as some issues that they have actually confirmed they've fixed internally, and they're essentially just waiting for the next update to actually put those fixes into place. Obviously, right now we are in a little bit of a dry patch with the fact that the developers are on holidays. They do deserve a break, obviously, but that does sort of leave us in a bit of a dry spell in the game where there's no new updates and new fixes and stuff like that coming into the game. So a lot of people are starting to get obviously very frustrated, and that is definitely fair enough with the state of the game at the moment. And so I essentially just wanted to go through and sort of cover a few of those things that we do know are essentially either getting fixed or are already fixed and are just waiting for the next update. Before we get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, then do consider subscribing and turning on those notifications. There is plenty more Battlefield 2042 content on the way in 2022, but with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. So there is a Twitter account called the Battlefield Bulletin, and essentially these guys have compiled a massive list of a bunch of stuff that one of the developers by the name of Drunksy has actually sort of touched on throughout the last probably 2 to 3 weeks now on Twitter. Drunksy is one of the lead game designers on Battlefield 2042, and he's been really interacting with the community a fair bit on Twitter over the last few weeks. And so, like I said, these guys have actually compiled a big list of all the stuff they have touched on during that time. So anyway, without wasting any time, the first thing on the list here is that players sometimes can't jump after reviving a teammate. They are aware of that, and that should hopefully be fixed in the next update. They've also mentioned that players can't ADS after leaving a vehicle, and that is something that I've actually experienced a few times, and it can get pretty frustrating, and obviously they're aware of that one as well. There is apparently a weird glitch where some players can actually fall under the map and then pop back up, making them invincible, which I haven't run across that just yet, but that is obviously borderline game breaking, so I'm glad that they are aware of that, and I'd assume that's one of the ones that they've probably already fixed internally and just awaiting on the next update to actually push that fix out there. They've mentioned that the sprint animation can sometimes cause a bug where players sort of just start shaking their left hand in a weird way. They've also mentioned that there are some instances where players are actually not able to leave a vehicle when they spawn on them. So I've had this a few times as well, where you're on the spawn screen and you choose to spawn on a vehicle, and then once you get in the vehicle, you actually cannot get out of the vehicle. It's only happened to me once or twice, but it is good to know that that is something that's already on their radar as well. They've also confirmed that there's a visual XP bug with the SOFLAM. The game is actually tracking the XP that's earned, but it doesn't actually show up on screen. Apparently some players can also get stuck in a crouch position after climbing and jumping back from a ladder, which is obviously not very handy at all, especially considering the size of the map. You do not want to be running around, or I should say crouching around all over the place. There are also some issues with the smoke grenade launcher for the S-File, where it's only working in certain occasions, and there are actually some collision issues in specific areas. So what that means is essentially there are certain elements of the map that can sometimes get in the way of that smoke grenade, and so sometimes it literally just won't work. You'll shoot it and it just essentially disappears, so that is good to know that that one is being fixed as well. There are some instances where ground vehicles can actually fall through the map, and to be honest, as a non-vehicle player, I'm not mad if they don't fix that one, to be honest. If the vehicles can all fall under the map, that would be fantastic. And then just some smaller ones on this page. It says that sometimes players' names aren't actually showing up correctly in the kill feed. There's sometimes a visual bug where a black square appears on the screen while you're sprinting, and then this one's actually a bit of a bigger one. It says McKay's grappling hook can grapple onto smoke. I have seen this one quite a bit, and I've actually accidentally done this myself. I threw a smoke, tried to grapple onto something that was through the smoke, and it just grappled me onto the smoke, so that was a little bit weird. And once again, it's good to know that these things are on their radar. Now, onto their next page here, it does say that in Rush, sometimes there are endless matches where the attackers can actually lose all of their tickets and they still get reinforcements. Obviously, that is not a very good thing because, yeah, that defeats the whole purpose of Rush, so it's good to know that's on their radar as well. The next one is a pretty big one. They've mentioned that there are actually some issues with the hit registration where sometimes your bullets can get blocked by teammates and dead bodies on the battlefield. So if you say kill someone and then you're shooting, trying to shoot through their dead body to kill an enemy behind them, that body will essentially just soak up all the damage, and it doesn't really deal damage through the body, which obviously sounds a little bit weird, but we all know you can get like collaterals. You can shoot through people to damage people behind them. However, for some reason with dead bodies, it just doesn't seem to work. So that's actually a pretty big part of the issues with the hit registration at the moment, and I'm definitely glad that that one is on the radar, because that's probably one of the biggest issues in the game at the moment. Now, the next one is also one of the biggest, if not, to be honest, the biggest issue in the game at the moment, and that is the missing loadouts on the deploy screen. Now, they have fixed some instances of this in the last, I think, 2 updates, but apparently there are still some things that are actually triggering this to happen. So I have noticed that it's happening less than it used to be, but it is is still happening, and it says here that they're kind of aware that it is still happening and that they have apparently fixed that for the next update as well. Then again, we've heard that for the last 2 updates, so hopefully this is the final fix, because that one is pretty annoying. That's probably my main issue with the game at the moment, but like I said, it is good that it's at least on their radar. Another really big one for me is the aircraft splash damage against infantry. The fixes are ready internally and it will go live in a future update. Now what that means is if you guys have been shot by like a chopper flying past, the splash damage will actually stop you from moving. It pretty much stops you dead and you can't do anything to counter it. That is one of the most frustrating things for me about the vehicles, is that if you're getting shot by anything with splash damage, you simply cannot move, and then you're sitting duck for the vehicle. So they've confirmed the fix is ready internally and that will go live in a future update, and that is very, very good to hear. There's also apparently a teleport glitch on the manifest map, and again, the fix is ready internally and that will go live in a future update as well. And then 2 more here. It says the plus menu and weapon attachment issues have been fixed, which I assume that actually means that they've fixed some of the actual attachments not doing what they've said they're going to do. There are actually some attachments where you'll attach them to your weapon and they essentially do nothing, or they do something different to what they say they're going to do. So I assume that's what that means. That one is pretty vague, but hopefully that's what that one means anyway. And then apparently inside certain vehicles there are invisible players as well, and that apparently has been fixed internally as well. Now just lastly, and these aren't really fixes, but these are more, I guess, like improvements to the game. DICE is still working on improving aim assist on consoles. Update 3.1 was an attempt to improve it, but it's not good enough yet. I definitely noticed a little bit of a difference there with update 3.1, but it still feels pretty janky to me, and so that is good to know that they're still working on it. And then another really big one for me is the Hud Opacity Customization is coming in a future update with 24 options to allow granular control of icons in the world, including the option to make icons invisible while ADSing. That one right there is really big to me. I do really like the look of the HUD, but sometimes it can kind of get in the way, and there's times when like you'll be shooting at an enemy and there'll be a big C1 flag right in front of them and you just can't see where the enemy is. So in either the next update or probably a few updates after that, there will be some HUD, customization in the settings where we can kind of fine tune how we want the HUD to look. So that is a really big one for me and I cannot wait for that to come. Obviously it should have been there at launch, but it wasn't. So all we can hope for now is that it's going to be added pretty soon, and by the sounds of it, that is the case. Now lastly, and this one has been pretty controversial to be honest, but placing C5 on the recon drone is going to be removed in an upcoming update. Now I'm kind of torn on this one because it is really fun to put the C5 on your drone and take out a bunch of just camping enemies somewhere on the map. It is good fun, but it is definitely a little bit overpowered. It's very I don't know if it's like the audio in the game is kind of broken still, which to be honest that's probably a whole other thing they need to fix. But the drone, to me, it's really quiet, and I'm like, I don't really have too many audio issues with the game, but there are times when even I can't hear the drone sort of coming up behind me, and then you'll just turn around and there's just a drone with strapped with C5 in your face, and you can't really do anything to stop it in that case. So I'm kind of torn because it is good fun, and that's one of those things that's like only in Battlefield. Strapping freaking C5 to a drone, like that's obviously good fun to do. So I'm kind of annoyed that it's being taken out, but at the end of the day, it is a little bit overpowered, and I guess if it's for the betterment of the game, then I can't really complain. So we'll see how that one goes, but they have confirmed that that will be removed in an upcoming update. But that is pretty much it for what they've confirmed on Twitter. Like I said earlier, this might not be the whole list, because obviously just because Drunksy has responded to this stuff on Twitter, that doesn't mean it's the only stuff. He's a very busy man. He can only reply to so many tweets per day. So this isn't necessarily just like the only stuff they're aware of, but this is just the stuff that we do know that they know about, and the stuff that, the majority of this stuff they've already said it's either fixed internally and it's just going in the future update, or it is currently being fixed. So I thought I'd just keep you guys updated on that for now. I know a lot of people are, pretty frustrated with the game right now, and that is completely fair, but it is good to know that there are hopefully some pretty big fixes on the way. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any upcoming Battlefield 2042 content. If you want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.